whatever it is that brings you rest and calm, try to embed more of that in your life, even though you think I don't have time. Mm-hmm. I challenge that and say, you don't have time not to rest, because time is so valuable, but it truly is amazing what you can get done and how focused you can be and how the energy changes when you are rested.
Welcome to Oxygen for Educators, part of the Ripple Maker Project. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle Kinder, and you'll meet Chris Kent Phelps in just a bit. It's our hope to bring you thought-provoking, unscripted conversations full of actionable ideas to fuel your important work in the world. Thanks for tuning in. This space is for you. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Michelle.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Lifting my spirits today to be with you.
Yeah, we should let people know this will come out later, but of course we're recording right after the July 4th weekend, and so we're all a bit shaken and unnerved and out of sorts, thinking about all the people impacted by the Central Texas flooding. So it may come out in some ways, sideways or directly, but as we were preparing for this, I was thinking about the person everyone's about to meet, Shannon, who, by the way, this is high stakes interview podcast for everyone listening, because our guest is not just an extraordinary educator, but is also Katie Warden, our producer's sister. So Chris and we're so nervous. We feel like extra sweaty and extra awkward, which is saying a lot, because we're just generally, we rank high on the awkward scale. So the notion that we would be more awkward is a lot. But as we were preparing for this, I was thinking about Shannon and thinking about everything going on with the flooding and the losses, and imagining what a steady, sturdy, loving school leader she is, and how she would be the kind of leader I would want to show up the next day with and for when things are rocky. And so this timing actually is good, even though we're all reeling.
Shall I introduce her?
Please.
Okay, and thank you for sharing that comment. Okay, so Shanon Zais, not only is she Katie's sister, but she is starting her 22nd year in education. She's currently the principal at Rockwall High School, which is a 9th grade campus that they refer to as Rock 9. That took me a minute to catch on with what you guys were talking about when I listened to that interview. But she opened the building after serving as the associate principal for 7 years. She has been in middle school, high school, English teacher, varsity cheer, and lots of club sponsors. She just recently completed her doctorate, which you guys discuss a bit. And one thing that I loved that she said in her bio, and she talks about on the podcast, she prides herself on running a campus where teachers never dread a Monday. And I loved how you can tell that she meant that when she said it. And she is so laser focused on who she is, what she stands for, thinking a lot about the way that she treats other people. And I learned a lot from her today.
Great. Let's listen. Hello, Shannon.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
This is like a supreme honor, because not only are you an educator, leader extraordinaire by everyone's accounts, but you also are the sister of the amazing Katie Warden, our producer.
So
welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Whatever your parents did, I want to take notes, because they put amazing humans out into the world.
Yeah, Katie is pretty amazing. So I'm blessed to get to see her every day since we live next door to each other. So
I do love y'all's family commune vibe.
Yes. Well, it's important, like, our kids growing up together and being able to see the cousins every day with our kids. And I love going next door and having the nieces run over, and they call me Lele. And so seeing their smiling faces every day, and, we get to work out every day after work. And so, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you can't beat that. You really can't beat that. It's a dream. Well, let's start by hearing a little bit about your story and why you care so much about obviously kids, but from what I gather, you also embody an understanding that the adults in the building have to be cared for as deeply and as thoughtfully as the kids in the building. So how did that come to be?
Well, I never thought that I would be a teacher or an educator. My parents were educators. I was like, they don't make any money. I'm not going to do that. But deep down, I kind of always knew in the back of my mind that I was influenced by so many teachers, as a student, not just my parents. But I had some English teachers along the way that really took me under their wing. We moved to Rockwall my freshman year. It was a really hard transition time for me. Rockwall was a really small town. Everyone had grown up together. So it was very hard to move in and make friends. So I made friends with my teachers. Actually, I ate lunch in their classroom. I helped them grade papers after school. And my English teachers just were very influential in my life. And so when I went off to Texas A&M, had every intention of working for a marketing firm or a PR firm, advertising firm. But I did minor in English because I thought, one day I might want to be an English teacher to have that influence that those teachers had on my life. And little did I know, I was planning on doing an internship with the Richards Group. And I was scheduled to graduate in December of 2001. Well, September 11th happened that final semester when I was at A&M, and my internship fell through. And so by a series of events that I can always only accredit to God and his plan for my life, I started teaching way before I thought I ever would. And so I was a very young teacher, started out teaching freshman English, and I ended up going back and getting my master's. And so I taught for 6 years, was a varsity cheer coach, PAL sponsor, learned all sorts of different facets in the education world. But I really loved working with my coworkers, with my teachers. I loved working with friends, getting to know them. And so I just really thought I could make a bigger impact if I had more influence over the adults in the building, because I learned very quickly that the attitudes of the adults in the building is what drives the education. And so I became an administrator, and here I am now about to start my 22nd year in administration, and 16th year as an administrator. Just opened up a brand new freshman campus last year, and so that was amazing. Even though I'd been the associate principal at Rockwall High School for a long time, I never thought that I would want to run my own building unless it was a freshman campus, because my very first year of teaching was freshman English at a freshman only campus, and it was the best year because the staff was small enough to where we all knew each other, but it was big enough to where you get to see different people every day. And so I always thought, well, if Rockwall ever builds a freshman campus again, then I will be first in line to apply for that principal job. And so here I am. Just finished first year of being a building principal of a brand new building, and it's been the best year yet.
I love the poetry of you coming to Rockwall as a freshman, then teaching English your first year in a freshman campus, and now leading a freshman only campus. Like, that's really such a cool thread.
Yes. And of course, that freshman year is just such a big transition. Going from, elementary, middle school years up until, high school, where now things count. Your credits count, your grades matter. And so I love being a part of that time in a student's life, because it is so pivotal to their success and whether or not they graduate. And so I love being able to have that impact at this stage of their life.
So cool. Well, because we have Katie as an inside scoop reporter, I have several quotes from some folks that work with you that I want to share.
Okay.
And then I want you to help us unpack what it is you're doing as a leader that's creating this kind of lens on you and the work you're doing. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. The challenge is going to be my eyesight, but we're gonna struggle through it. Okay, so I think Katie asked for a sentence, and everyone sent like 3 paragraphs. So I'm just like grabbing like things from each person. It's so cute. So is it Gist, Megan Gist?
Oh yes, Megan Gist.
Gist. Okay, so she's your chief academic officer of Rockwall ISD. Okay. Yep. So she says you're a gifted educator and leader, that you love people deeply, and it shows in everything you do, words, attitude, action. Genuine love for others has permeated the Rock 9 campus. She describes you as intelligent and wise, thoughtful in your decision-making, clear in your expectations, and driven to not just achieve but exceed all the goals you all set for each other. She says that you believe every student deserves an outstanding learning experience every day, every year, and you'll not settle for anything less. And then Melissa Southworth, who's the secretary of Rock 9.
She
your
is.
Campus. Okay. She shared that you have a positive attitude even when things are chaos at times, and that you lead by example for everyone, that you set an environment of family, and it's not just people that you work with. And she points out that you really live into the 4 values. What will you share with listeners what y'all's 4 values are?
Absolutely. So, every school has a mission, you have a vision, you have collective commitments, none of which people memorize, right? It's usually on a plaque or something somewhere. And yes, we do talk about it. And yes, it drives what we do. But when I opened this building, I was lucky enough to be hired an entire year in advance to be able to prepare and hire my staff and, have say in the construction and what the building looked like. But during that time, I did a lot of reflection about what do I really want this campus to stand for? Or what do I want us to be about? So I prayed a lot about it. And I came up with 4 things that really, I knew it was going to be easy for me to lead as an example and put into practice every day, because they are truly part of my core values. So I knew if this was going to be successful, that it had to be authentic, because I wasn't going to be able to fake being someone else. There's lots of great leaders that I've worked for that I thought, oh my gosh, if I could only be like him, or have her energy, or, have his humor. But then I thought, if this is going to work, it has to be me, and it has to be authentic, because I believe that people can see through that and they want that authenticity. So our 4 things are: number 1, you are going to take care of yourself and each other. I am a very big believer that God designed us very uniquely, and we're all very different, but at the same time, he also designed us to rest. And I have found that educators are the worst at this. They stay late, they work weekends, and that's not okay with me, because if you're going to be the best for kids, I need for you to be rested. I need you to be rejuvenated. I need for your battery to be full. No one is going to dread a Monday at Rock 9. We're all going to love to be here. But that means that you have to take the weekend to rest and recharge. And so that's the number 1 core value, is you take care of yourself and others. So when there is a need, we're going to step up. We're going to fill in the gap. We're all in this together. I always tell my staff, I do not want you to look at me as your boss. I am just your coworker. I'm right here alongside you, whatever you need. Whether it's you need these copies made, I will go do it. You need this class covered because your kid's school just called and they are sick and they have a fever and you have to go pick them up. I will cover your class. So it's just, we're all in it together. There's no job on this campus that anybody isn't willing to do. But I do have to get on to them a lot. When they send me emails at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I will call them and say, why are you working? What are your kids doing? Is it their bedtime? You should be tucking them in. Are you reading them a book? Did you have dinner with your family? And so they quickly realize I'm not joking. When I say your family can't replace you, And I want your family to get the best of you, just like I expect our kids at school to get the best of you. And they can't get the best of you if you go home exhausted and stressed every single day. So we really do try to build a culture where, it's like my faith comes above anything. And God tells me that I have to rest. He actually commands it. Like, you need a day during the week where you do nothing. And so I have seen what that has done for me in my life and how I am able to accomplish more in 5 or 6 days with his blessing than I'm able to accomplish in 7 days a week without obeying him. So that is like number one core value at Rock 9.
And that really cuts through that sort of like fugue everyone's in of like, the more I suffer, the more I care. Like if I stop even for a second, I won't be able to meet the overwhelming needs of everyone around us. And it sounds like you really have set a tone where everyone understands that it's not either or, that it's your belief that if you take care of yourself and work hard, rest hard, when you are at school, you will be giving more than if you go in this sort of like empty tank, pound of flesh mentality.
And kids feed off of that. They know the energy of the teacher coming in the room. They know their attitude. They know if they're rested, if they're ready to face the day. There's a big difference. It sets the climate for the classroom and for the building in general. But if the building feels tired, if it feels stressed out, if it feels frustrated, nobody can learn in that environment. And who wants to work in that environment? I don't. I want to come where everybody is happy to be there, where we're rested, and it's a new day and we're ready to work hard. But at the end of the day, work is just work. And I do think in America, our culture, we pride ourselves on being busy. So my staff, and I think it's almost habit. Well, how have you been? Oh, busy. Oh, how's work? Oh, it's crazy. And so we've really tried to shift that mindset. And so now I hope when I ask my staff, how was your weekend or how was your evening? I love it when they say restful. I'm re-energized and I don't hear busy or stressed. And so I think that, and there's a reason why that's the number one core value, is because I think that is what drives everything, because everybody feeds off of the energy. And so if we can all be rested and be well within ourselves, it makes a difference of how you approach others, about how you face the day. And so that's core value number one. Take care of yourself and others. The second one is just be professional. I have the utmost respect for this profession. And so I treat all of my teachers like professionals. They are the experts in the room. And so that's just our expectation. We are all professional, whether it is interacting with students, parents, the community, whether we're in the classroom, whether we're at a professional development setting, it doesn't matter. We are just going to be professional. And especially in this day and age where people are so quick to put out the negativity with education and post on social media everything that goes wrong. I make a joke with my staff. I'm like, the number one goal is to stay off of the Rockwallian, which is like the gossip social media site, on Facebook. And we've done a great job of that. But it's just always about being professional. And like I said, I have the utmost respect for this profession and my teachers, and I treat them as such, and I value their opinion and their voice. I rarely make a decision alone. Even if I know the right decision and I know the decision we're going to make, I will go ask people that it directly affects to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I think that my staff feels like they are heard and they are valued, and that's because they truly are. I truly do believe that they are the experts in the room. They're the ones that are with these kids every day. They know what they need. They know what adjustments we need to make. And so we just are professional in everything that we do.
And that like respect for the professionalism of educators and education seems to me like it's an invitation to rise into their own greatness and their own creativity, their own zone of genius, in the same way we hope kids will. And I imagine there's a parallel process there that as the adults in the building are invited to live into their best selves, and you trusting that they know what that looks like and that they can push into the edges of that they then extend that same expectation and also grace toward the kids.
Exactly. And they also know that I trust them to make decisions, but they also know that because of our core value number 1, if they try something and it doesn't work, or if they want to take a risk but they're scared, it's okay. If it doesn't work, we just adjust. And that kind of goes into our third value of we plan for success, because it does not happen by accident. And so if we're planning for success, that means sometimes we have to take a risk. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. It doesn't mean that we weren't successful. It means that we've learned from that and we tweak it. So we always make a plan, we execute the plan, we evaluate the plan, and then we adjust. So we're always on that continuous cycle of how can we get better. And we are a great campus. We're the best campus in Rockwall ISD, hands down, if not the state of Texas. But we're always finding ways to get better. To make what we do more efficient, whether, it's in the classroom or systems and processes or just anything really. How can we get better? So we're always pushing ourselves. I ask my teachers a lot of times, what's next? What's next for you? Because we're not okay with being stagnant. And so it's always what's next. And so that's a fun question to ask.
Ooh, that's really good. And I also hear in your tone and energy that is the work, that you're not just like, when we get here, we have arrived. It's like, we're always in continual improvement. We're always learning. We're always looking at like what it looks like to have enough safety that people can take risks and will take risks. And that's the juicy part. Like, we're not aiming for something where life starts. Life is in this process.
Right. It's just a continual process over and over again. And the great thing about having a freshman campus is that you have these kids for 1 year. And so I do a demonstration at the beginning of the year. I actually have a jar sitting on my desk, and it has 36 marbles in it. And each marble represents 1 week. And I show that to the parents at a parent meeting. I show it to my staff. I'm like, this is how many weeks we have with your kid. It's not a lot. When I have my parent meeting, I compare it to the amount of weeks they have from birth until graduation. And that's a lot of marbles. And then I show them the jar with just 36 marbles in it. And this is how long we have with your kids to make a difference.
Wow.
And I take a marble out every single day and put it away. And I update the staff and the parents on how many marbles we have left. Sometimes I'll carry the marble around in my pocket. I'll show it to teachers. Hey, what are we doing with this marble this week? Remember, we only have so many opportunities to make a difference in a kid's life. But I also know the same, that I only have that many weeks in a school year to make the difference in some teachers' lives as well before we break for summer. And so I'm very intentional with how I approach them in communication, with how I interact with them, and just how I treat them. Because
that intentionality is just off the charts. And what the nervous system work would say is that your commitment to caring for self and caring for each other is what allows you to be intentional like that, because you can't do that if you're in a survival state and exhausted and depleted.
Right.
It's like, I can see how you weave all of your core values together.
Yeah. And then our last core value is that, by God, we are going to have fun. Because I say all the time, I don't want anybody to dread a Monday. I want everyone to love being here. So we have so much fun on this campus. I mean, you want to talk about a theme day, the staff goes all out. I mean, we play games, we do potlucks, we have outings outside of here. Just last night we were at, trivia. We've got a women's group, the Women of Rock 9, and we get together for fellowship and devotion, but also to have fun. We've got a book club. We just have a lot of opportunities for people to engage with each other just on a human level and not talk about work. and get to know each other as humans and as people. We pray together all the time as a staff. People know I will stop on a dime and pray with them. So when they have an issue or a concern, yes, we love to have fun, but also real life happens. And so I'll have people come into my office and I need you to pray with me. And we'll just stop right there and we'll pray about whatever it is that we've got going on in lives. I have teachers that submit individual student names for me to pray for because of whatever that student is going through, or there is no way without the miracle of God that this kid is going to pass a STAR test. I need you to start praying for them by name. And so a lot of times prayer and talk about faith in school doesn't really go hand in hand. And some people frown upon that. But it is what has made this campus so amazing. And it's what has made everybody want to be here and everybody want to work here. And it is what has made the kids on the last day of school, they're crying because they do not want to leave. Aww. And we've had parents say, for the first time ever, my kid loves being at school. For the first time ever, my kid likes math. Wow. And so, but I think it's because we have such a strong faith on our campus as well. But we know how to have fun and we know how to make the place enjoyable for teachers and students and parents. It's just a place where everybody wants to be, because even though we do work hard, we also have a whole lot of fun along the way.
Well, you've created so much community, it sounds like. And then when you ask people that first value to look out for each other, how happy are we to carry water for the people we feel connected to?
Absolutely.
So yeah, really, really solid weaving in those four. I can really see it.
Hi, I'm Katie Worden, producer of Oxygen for Educators. I want to spotlight our sponsor, TackieBox. TackieBox is an elementary school program that pairs innovative content with a tactile tool in daily practice to teach children to self-monitor their own words and actions and their responses to others. It's a proven tool that reduces behavior incidents by 66%. Through daily self-reflection, students build self-awareness, self-regulation, and meaningful connections. TackieBox is a light lift for teachers with a big impact on student well-being. Go to tackiebox.com to learn more and become a TackieBox district.
Let me share with you two other quotes we got from folks. Is it Alicia Deepen?
Mm-hmm.
Assistant principal,
secretary,
Secretary Rock 9. Okay, so she said that you lead with purpose, with kindness, integrity, humility, guided by strong values, as we just heard, and a clear moral compass, creates a culture of trust, accountability, and grace, and talks about your strategic mindset and your ability to inspire excellence. And then at the end, she cracked me up and she said, I know this is more than a sentence, but you can pick what you like. I mean, she's just amazing.
That sounds like Alicia.
Isn't that cute? And then the last one we got is from Sarah. Tell me how to pronounce her last name.
Riedlinger.
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 Mm-hmm. Riedlinger. Mm-hmm. Assistant principal. And she says that you foster a culture where well-being is not only encouraged but modeled every day, that you enhance the quality of the educational experience for teachers and students. Educators feel more fulfilled, motivated, engaged to produce the highest quality of effective instruction for the growth of every learner.
I love that.
Such high praise. And it took Katie, I think, 20 minutes to get those quotes. So like people were like so happy to share their experience of you and just what you have created. And I imagine just in this little time of talking to you, you would say co-created,
right?
And
yes.
And support. So it's really awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was a surprise that she reached out to those people and not one of them told me she did that. So that is funny.
That's Katie. She's very
right? She's sneaky.
Yes, she's so sneaky. So let me ask you, what you've really alluded to this already, but if you had to quantify the small, consistent actions that you take day to day that you're certain make a difference and create this culture and community that you've described, what would you say those small, consistent actions are?
I think just treating people like people. Like, they're not employees, they're not teachers, they're not workers. Like, we are all people, and every day is different. We all have different baggage that we bring with us every day. We have different emotions that we bring with us every day. And I think just creating a safe space to where people can be who they are, and bring whatever it is through the door. I'll address it with them, but then we go back to the 4 core values. Like, those are just what consistently runs through this building every single day. And it helps foster conversations. Everything we do relates to these. I mean, how we identify Teacher of the Month, how we address conversations, how we recognize people. Like, it's all related around those 4 core values. But it all goes back to number 1. It's just like taking care of yourself and others. So I think every single day I ask myself, what can I do to take care of my people? And for me, it really is the teachers, because I know I'm one person. I cannot take care of 80 staff members and 800 students every single day. But if I know I can take care of your number 1 team should be your leadership team, and that's who you invest in big time. And so if I'm making sure that I'm taking care of my assistant principals, my counselors, my secretaries, they see a lot of people every day. If I'm taking care of them, then I know they're going to be taking care of others. They're going to be taking care of the teachers that they directly see every day. And then I know if they're taken care of, then those teachers are going to be able to take care of the students and the parents. And so I think you have to just be intentional about it. But then I think once you're past the intentionality, you see what a difference it makes. And then it just becomes ingrained in what you do every day. I don't have to think about how I treat people or how I address people or how I conversate with people. Now it's like I've seen the impact that it makes. And so it's just a natural way that we do things around here.
It's in the water at this point.
Yes. The substitutes even on our campus have given our campus the nickname of Disneyland. And they we don't want to sub anywhere but Disneyland. But it's because I tell everyone, it doesn't matter who you are, whether it's our superintendent walking through the door or whether it's our custodial staff walking through the door, whether it's a substitute, whether it's a parent, like, everyone deserves to be treated with kindness, with grace, with respect. So it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to get the same smiling face and the same energy when you come through our building. And you can feel it when you walk in. And we've had people say that, I can feel the energy in this building. There's something different about this building. And so, I just think it's the way you treat people and you just handle them with care. I think that's my biggest, if I had just one thing, just handle people with care each and every day.
So powerful. And I know that that's happening in many, many school buildings across the country. And it is not happening in many, many school buildings across the country. What's your lens or theory on what gets in the way of leaders creating this kind of culture and climate?
I think they're stressed and they don't know how to rest. We have great leadership in Rockwall, but, and some of them are very close colleagues and who I would consider friends, but sometimes I have to call them out when they, are sending me emails at 10 o'clock at night. And, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, stop. Like, you have to rest. You're not going to be enjoyable tomorrow if all you've done since school has let out is work and stress about the next thing. And so I think especially in this American culture, we just pride ourselves on being busy, and the more I do, the better I am, and people will think that much more highly of me because I'm such a hard worker. Well, I'm a very hard worker. I work very hard, and I'll outwork anyone. I run a school, I run a photography business, I run a small group ministry, lead a Bible study, just finished my doctorate. Like, I'm a hard worker. But at night, when I get home, I truck next door. I work out with my sister every day. I walk home and I don't work. I have dinner with my family. We have conversations around the dinner table. I'll read a book. I rest at night and rest over the weekend. And so that way I can get a lot of work done. But I think we've lost touch of that, and people forget that we are designed to rest and be still. And we don't know how to do that this day and age. And it creates anxiety and frustration and depression and stress. And I think that is what impacts, because then that creates a certain energy. And if that's the type of energy that the leader is bringing to the building every day, it just permeates everything else.
I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. And I think if people just take that from this to just start doing little mini experiments with rest, it's hard to flip that switch for a lot of people. But even if people are just like, I'm going to take 10 minutes where I'm only doing something that delights me and just see how it feels. And see that the world kept spinning, and you still got through your to-do list the next day. And like, I think people, in some ways, there's a bit of a deprogramming that has to happen before it's as clear as that switch flip that you've obviously experienced.
Well, there is a book I read several years ago, and I've read it several times. I've done Bible studies on it, but it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by Mark Comer. And it's a fantastic book. I don't know how many copies I have bought for people, but I hand this book out a lot. And that is kind of what started that trigger for me all those years ago. And that's exactly what I did. He gives some very practical things in that book you can start doing just to simplify your life and start being intentional with your time of rest. And as I started doing that, I realized how much happier I was, how much more grateful I was, how much more energy I had. I was less stressed, and I could actually accomplish more. And I was more pleasant to be around, for sure. But yeah, just starting to take some of those little steps. And we incorporate those things here on our campus too for our teachers. We have a quiet room they can go to. We have a little mini trampoline. 2 minutes jumping on a mini trampoline has all sorts of health benefits. So we've got a mini trampoline. Teachers can come in and jump for a couple of minutes. I tell them all the time. We have a beautiful courtyard. We have great walking. We have a pond in the back of our campus. Go for a walk. Do little things throughout the day to reset yourself and to ground yourself so you can come back in for the next class period, ready to go.
Tell us about a moment. I know it can be hard to think of stories, but is there one that comes to mind for you where you knew you were making a difference that you still think about?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, with teachers, especially, in a leadership role. But I opened up this building, so I had 80 staff members to hire. Of course, I had been at Rockwall High School for a decade, so I was thankful that there were so many teachers that wanted to come with me. But obviously, I had to fill some other spots, with other people from outside or within, even within the district. But I have one teacher in particular. I remember she came to me from another campus, and her kiddo had a field trip, and we were just talking, hey, how are your kids? Oh, well, so-and-so's got a field trip, next week. And I was like, oh, are you going? And she was like, oh, no, could never take off work to go on a field trip with my kid. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, what is core value number one? So we had to have a teachable moment. And she was like, well, I mean, I know you say that. She's like, but are you serious? And I'm like, yes, you need to, like, that's an opportunity. And she had never been a mom and had never gone on a field trip with her kid.
Yeah.
Ever. And so I made her take off work, and she went on the field trip. And she came back, and she was like, that was the best day. I can't believe that you let me take off work. I said, they're your days, you know, but the campus that she was in, they always made them feel guilty about taking off work. And so it's little things like that has happened over and over and over again this past school year, where I feel like that teachers, for sometimes in the first time in their career, they've been treated as a human, and they're not just a teacher. No, you are a mom, you are a wife, you are a daughter, and your family cannot replace you. I mean, truth be told, I could replace you. I can hire another teacher, but you can't be replaced at home. And so I can think of a lot of instances that have happened like that over the course of the year, where it's like, for the first time, teachers like, oh, my boss really does care that I spend time with my family, and they had never experienced that. And I think that is why people don't want to leave this building. They could drive across the bridge. We are one of the only school districts around that have not passed a VADR, so that voter approved tax, ratification, to be able to pay our teachers more. But I've had teacher after teacher say, I could drive across I-30 and, across the bridge and make $10,000 more, $12,000 more, but this is the best place I've ever worked. I've never felt more valued. I've never felt more appreciated. I've never felt more heard. And that's why people stay in jobs. It's not because of the money, but it's because of how you feel when you show up to that place to work every single day. And you spend more time in your job than you do at home and with your family. So it better be the best place on earth.
And everything you're talking about leads people to show up as their best, most committed, most energized, most devoted selves. They will run through walls for you and what y'all are trying to do together. They'll run through walls for the kids. The formula, the way you embody it, it's so non-negotiable that it's worth doing. It's worth stepping into. It's not an either or. It's not like, oh, your teachers are fine and then your kids maybe don't get the great grades. It's a that precedes the best teaching and the best learning.
And I think, as a building principal and in a leadership role, I think a lot of building leaders have the best of intentions, and probably these 4 core values would be what any principal would say. Yes, I want all these things for my building. Yes. But I think that a lot of people struggle to model it, especially as the building leader, on number 1. And so it's like, you have the expectation for your staff to go home and rest, but if they're getting an email from their building principal at 8:00 at night, then that's not really what you mean.
Right.
So like, my staff will never receive an email from me after 5 p.m. They will never receive an email from me over the weekend, because I don't expect them to read it at night when they're with their family and things like that. When they see me take off and I say, I'm going on my daughter's field trip next Friday, the APs are in charge. They see me model those things because I see the value in them. And so I think that's where, as leaders, we could do better. We say one thing, and that's truly what we want for the people under us, but do we model it? Because they're going to follow what is modeled, not just what is said.
Right. Absolutely. So when we said we were going to have this conversation, you were kind enough to say yes. Was there anything you wanted to make sure you spoke into, you covered, you shared with the listeners?
I really just think the resting piece. It's just made such a big difference in my life and the teachers around me. And I see the impact that it's had on our campus, on our kids, on our families. because there's just nothing better than working in a building where people feel rested and energized and they can come in with a positive attitude. So for any listeners out there that, are struggling with finding that balance where they just feel like they're working 24/7, they can never keep their head above water, I just challenge them to try to do things differently. Like you said, take that 10 minutes, take an hour, whether it's going on a walk, whether it's listening to music, if you like spending time in your garden, if whatever it is that brings you rest and calm, try to embed more of that in your life, even though you think I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
I challenge that and say, you don't have time not to rest, because time is so valuable, but it truly is amazing what you can get done and how focused you can be and how the energy changes when you are rested.
I mean, yes, I want to hold up a sign and say, yes, more of that. It's so, so good. Congratulations, by the way, on your doctorate. What did you do your dissertation on?
It was on effective implementation of professional learning communities in schools. A lot to do with like leadership and how leadership implements things. So yeah, it was great to get to dive in to that topic a little bit more. I truly, I value our teachers and their professional learning time. We make sure in our master schedule that they have time embedded during the school day to do that. I do not require that after school. And so I protect that time and make sure that they have that time within their contract hours to meet as a group. But a lot of it is just the same things of our 4 core values is what they implement with that professional learning community. And yes, sure, we are looking at, data, we're informing our instruction, but most of all, it's core value number 1, because that builds the trust within the group, and it allows people to be vulnerable and have authentic conversations. And then when they say, okay, I tried that did not work. What did you do differently? How can I be better? I always tell people, I'm like, I would be the best teacher ever if you put me back in the classroom, because of how many other teachers I have observed while being a principal, and how many, PLC meetings I have sat in and heard all of these great ideas. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, if I'd only heard someone say that when I was a teacher, or if I could have tried that, oh my gosh, that strategy was amazing. I'm like, I would win teacher of the year because I have everybody's tricks like in my bag now. But just that camaraderie and that trust, within those PLCs is vitally important to their success. It's not just about, looking at the data and seeing how we did on scores. There's more to a professional learning community than that.
So powerful. Let me ask you one more question, because it's on my mind and I feel like there's a reason for that. If you had advice for people who are in systems that are not prioritizing these types of core values, but they want to just feel better, do better, change their relationship with whatever's feeling oppressive in their environment, how would you guide them?
I would say just take one baby step, the small things over time will produce more results than trying to do everything at once, all at once. Sometimes people are really, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to do all of these things. And it's like super intensity. And then like for 2 or 3 weeks, and then everything just kind of, fades out. But if you can pick one thing and be consistent with that one thing over time, you will see that it makes a difference. One of my consistent things that I do, my one thing that I do every single day, is I get to work 30 minutes before I'm supposed to be here, and I have 15 to 20 minutes of just quiet time when no one's here, and I do that every single day. And it's amazing how it just kind of sets the tone for that day. So that has been the one thing that really works for me. But I would just say find one thing and commit to doing the one thing. Don't try to do everything to make all the changes. And if you're in a leadership role, or even if you're not, you can still be a leader. I tell people all the time, you don't have to have a title to be a leader, but if there's something within your team that you want to see change, start with you. And then when your team members see what's different, they're going to want more of that. Like, what is it that you're doing? What is it, that's why when people ask me, I'm like, I have a book for you. Go read this book. Take one thing from the book. So yeah, just one thing. Start with one thing and do it consistently over time.
I love that. And pick a thing that actually offers your soul relief. I think sometimes when people pick a thing, they pick something that is just like in the cultural norm, or it's something people are recommending, but it doesn't resonate with them. Like, find something that creates relief for your soul. And then, like you said, consistency over intensity.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because we're all unique. We're all wired differently. Mm-hmm. So what my 15 minutes is going to look very different from someone else's 15 minutes. I have a teacher that will get on the track and sprint around the track, for 10 minutes. And I'm like, not for me, no sprinting. But for her, that energizes her. It calms her.
Yeah.
It, puts her headspace where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's different.
Whatever works for you. I love it. Okay. I have to tell you, you were so hyped up. And you exceeded expectations.
I hope I lived up to the expectations.
You did. You definitely
I know when I asked
did.
Katie, I was like, well, are there some questions? She was like, nope, just a conversation. I was like, great, let's do it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, you were amazing in the conversation, but just the way it kind of comes out of your pores, your own commitment to leadership, to educators, to students, to yourself, your family. I mean, all of that is just so apparent. And I'm just like, can we speed up this cloning thing? Like, how do we get Shannon in every seat on every bus to infuse this clarity about the importance of rest and caring for ourselves and each other?
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the bus is that, you just bring people along with you. You invite them to get on the bus. I love to invite teachers and staff to get on the bus with me and do all the things. So
thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing weekend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.
She's formidable, isn't she?
She is. In lots of lovely, joyful ways.
Yes. Tell me what jumped for you from the interview.
Well, I know we're going to talk a lot about rest. So before we get to that, two things that jumped out at me. I think she is the first person we've had on the podcast who said, I never thought I was going to be an educator, and then was so clearly meant to be. I just thought that really jumped out at me that statement was made. And then I also loved the way that she worded this statement. The attitude of the adults in the building is what drives the education in the building. I just loved the way she strung those words together, and you're grinning. So does that mean that you have it on your list as well?
It's the first thing on my list as well. We were joking before we hit record that we're starting to morph into the same person. So we're going to have to bring in like another co-host that actually has a different opinion. That is what I put as well. That was really poetic how she said that.
Well, and one reason that it sticks out to me, just transparently, when I started Tacky Box 11 years ago now, that was my first experience inside schools. My daughter was a kindergartner, so I really just didn't have an education lens. Mm-hmm. And I went in, I saw the polarity of what a school was like when everyone was excited to be there. Those were most predominantly ACE schools. So they had the ability to hire, people who were excited to be there, et cetera, compared to where the culture was not that way. And my initial reaction was, how do we insulate the kids from that? Mm-hmm. And what I love that I've learned from you and from people like Shannon is that if you get the right people in the building with the right focus on their own wellness and how they're showing up, that's like a real systemic shift. So that's just been an interesting learning for me over the last decade. And I felt like she very much embodied that.
That's so well delivered. And to me, it's a bell curve. Like, you're always going to have a few goofballs that are just not going to get there no matter what you do, no matter how you create the conditions. But there's so many educators that if leadership creates the conditions, they are going to rise to the challenge in exactly the same way. If teachers create the conditions, students rise to the challenge. So it's such a Rubik's cube of a situation, but it all comes down to exactly what you said. Like, it as a parent, you walk into the building, we know instantly if the adults are bringing that attitude and the energy that's going to drive an education that's successful and positive or not.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
This is going to make my brain jump around, but the comment that you just made about kids rising to the same conditions, I had made a note about, obviously you guys talked about her 4 campus core values and the plan for success and taking risks and tweaking and being open to that and having that mindset. It just took me back to the podcast we did with my nephews, Will and Max Kent, and their teacher, Ms. Lopez. And that was the culture that she created in the classroom for them to take risks, and it's okay to mess up and it's okay to do things like that. So it made me think how much more, I'm not sure what the leadership at Ms. Lopez's school is like, but I could imagine with someone like Shannon leading the charge, how much more amplified that could even be in a school.
Yes, her concept of continuous improvement and the question she often uses, what's next for you? That really got my attention because that's just a fantastic question. And embedded in it is the assumption that there is something next for someone. So it's like, I believe in you. I'm interested enough in you that I want this to not just be you plug in and do what the school needs from you, but like you're growing, you're learning, you're on your own career path. That question is powerful. What's next for you?
Mm-hmm. And I liked how she spoke about, it seemed to me like she didn't really have much of a use for the word boss. And she specifically said, I'm a coworker alongside of you. And she had a real desire, has a real desire to care for those people on her team the same way she cares for herself. I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Like, she had a very much like servant leader vibe. Like, I'm here to, again, create the conditions for you to thrive and serve students. And at the same time, I wrote down that to me, she's like a 3-dimensional visual of a leader that is so clear about what she's there to do. Because to me, I experienced Shannon as this like weird combo of like emotional intelligence, warmth, kindness, investment in the humanity of the people around her, like all of this. And at the same time, just like, don't mess with me. Like, I'm not debating this stuff. I know what I'm doing. I know what works. So it was just like that embodiment of those two things swirling together. It had a real, you need me on that wall, but in a good way, vibe. Like just.
It was the kindness and empathy with structure and discipline
and strength and
strength. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I was very taken by that. I was like, yeah, there's a real place for that, in education of just like, it's safety. It feels safe to work for people who know what they're doing and they know what they're doing.
And can so clearly and concisely lay it out and then live it so you trust it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So on that note, we should talk about rest.
Yes, I have like 3 pages of notes on rest.
I knew you
'Cause I
would.
was so excited that she was so clear about that. Tell me what jumped for you about that.
Well, I would say, have you ever read Rest is Resistance?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. Is it Trisha?
Trisha Hershey.
Hershey. The
Hersey
Nat
or-
Bishop. Is she
Yes.
call herself the Nat Bishop in the Nat ministry? I love her.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Go
yes.
on.
Well, that's what jumped out at me when I was watching that was just a different thinking around that book, because I read that book after George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah.
But it caused me to go pull it off my shelf after I listened to you guys talk. And so I was looking at some of the just reviews or summaries about it. But thinking about rest being resistance inside the education system, which is a difficult system for the people that are inside of it. So I wanted to read this review of it for those who have not read it. But Rest is Resistance casts an illuminating light on our troubled relationship with rest and how to imagine and dream our way to a future where rest is exalted. Our worth does not reside in how much we produce, especially not for a system that exploits and dehumanizes us. Rest in its simplest form becomes an act of resistance and a reclaiming of power because it asserts our most basic humanity. We are enough. The systems cannot have us. That just felt to me like what she's creating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and Shannon gets, if I'm not doing it, it's all words. Like I've met so many leaders who will say, I buy this and I want this for the people working with me, but I'm the exception because of what's on my plate, because of what I get paid, because of where I am on the org chart. And that ends up falling flat for the people on the team. They're like, well, she says she wants that for us, but look at what she does. And so the fact that Shannon, who's clearly like off the charts accomplished, is just laser focused on this is the boundary and this is how I respect my family and my need for rest and renewal so that I can come back and just be as sharp and creative and strong the next week. Like, that was inspiring.
That was inspiring. It was also inspiring to me that she offers, she's promoting I can't remember what the education term is, but the professional groups where they're working together.
PLCs, yeah.
PLCs, but during the workday, like not after hours, not like being that thoughtful about that piece of it. That's rare.
Yeah, I would be terrified if I got a call from her saying, why are you answering an email? Those calls she makes, I'm like, oh my God. I'd be like, wrong number.
Now we know why Katie doesn't
committed.
skip workouts, right?
Exactly. Truly, it was so fun. It was so fun to get to know Shannon as an educator, but also as Katie's sister. Like, that felt sacred. I'm so glad we got that privilege. So I'll throw in on some of the rest stuff because the NAP ministry is one of the resources I went to. And then also Essentialism. Have you read Essentialism? Mm-hmm. It's The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. It's the only book I have read and immediately started reading again the second I finished it. It has impacted me so much. And in his book, he talks about rest as strategic, non-negotiable, and essential for high contribution. He says it's a prerequisite for clarity, that it's not an indulgent, it's an investment. It fuels high performance, and talked about that when we have the capacity to slow down, we can discern what really matters. If we don't, then we say yes to everything, and then we show up mediocre on all fronts instead of like really zeroing in on what is essential. And his frame is, you don't do that unless you know how to rest. you don't get to it. You don't get to clarity on what really matters to you unless you have the capacity to rest. So this conversation with Shannon took me back to that book, which made me happy.
I'm happy you shared that because I've been thinking a lot about, as I'm wrapping up, for those who don't know, I'm wrapping up a 6-week sabbatical from work to deal with some family issues, and I'm getting ready to go back on Monday. And I felt like Shannon's interview was almost a challenge to see if I can keep up what I've been doing and not go back to the other way, because I've been guilty as can be, you know this, of working at night, working on the weekends. Like the whole concept of resting all weekend is very foreign to me. Not now, but but it was 6 weeks ago. So that's interesting to me. Interesting challenge.
Such a good challenge. I'm glad you told me that you're doing that, because Katie and I can like cheer you on. That's a really, I'm excited you're doing that. And I can attest that it's doable, because I was not wired one bit for boundaries when it came to work that I found challenging, meaningful, exciting. Like my normal bent was all day long, every day, weekends, nights. Like I just loved it, and it didn't feel punishing to me, but it was punishing. And it did compromise my capacity to show up creative and clear, and, you know, and now I have years under my belt of living a really different way, and I can fully see the going with inspiration, the going with flow, the versus the kind of grind culture and grinding it out, which the NAP ministry talks a lot about.
I wrote down. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to throw this in really quickly. I wrote down a quote from Shannon: "When you're rested, you're more pleasant to be around." Okay, talk about how simple that is. But one of my big realizations over the last 6 weeks, when I'm not rested and I start feeling like just, high stress, anxious, I pout. And you're going to go, "Oh, I know. But I pout."
Oh, we've been meaning to bring this up. No, I'm kidding.
But it's not. So when she put it in those words, when you're rested, you're more pleasant to be around. I was like, that's simple right there. That's one reason right there that you just don't think about.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Okay, I only had one more thing I really wanted to talk about, and it's her 36 marbles. The marble jar that she uses with teachers and parents and students about, like, we only have these kids for 36 weeks. I just loved that. I loved the visual of it. I loved that she takes one out every week. I love the idea of kind of like reinforcing the notion that our opportunity to impact the different people in our lives is finite. I think we think of it as infinite, or that it's going to be our choice. But in her case, it's like, I'm so aware I get 36 weeks with these kids. It's finite. Every week counts. Every moment counts. It's just so profound to me.
I love that too. One of the best pieces of parenting advice I've ever been given, it was when I was pregnant with my first child. One of my clients said, "You've been entrusted with this child for 18 years. If you're lucky, and your job is to teach them to be as independent as possible and as kind as possible, as quickly as possible." And that just because that finite time. But when she said 36 marbles for just having kids for that 1 year, like the stakes just went up a lot. Like that's a short amount of time. I liked that too.
Short amount of time. Oof. Well, that's my list. Anything you want to end on?
The one thought that I would end on, I liked a lot her focus of having fun and creating community. And it just made me think about the fact that a school is such a unique opportunity to do that. I was reading a book about collective effervescence right at that moment. And the definition of that is to describe the magic of the moments when our sense of ego separation dissolves and is replaced by communal joy. And I thought there aren't a lot of places to create communal joy, because you're going to be down on your computer or in a book, but in a school setting where there's a lot of group activity, and it was inspiring to me to think about the opportunity to do that. And she's clearly doing it well by the comments that her teammates sent in.
Perfect note to end on. And thank you to Shannon for leading the way she does and for giving her time to this podcast. Huge thank you to you, Chris. Huge thank you to Katie Warden, sister of Shannon and producer. And we will see you all next week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Oxygen for Educators. Please like, share, and follow. And if inclined, leave us a 5-star review so that we can keep making content for you. Let us hear from you if you know someone we should interview or a topic we should cover.